Morning, everyone. Welcome to the ICW Raise the Bar webinars. We'll be starting momentarily. We'll wait another moment before we get this webinar going. In the meantime, I'd like everyone to check in, let us know what part of the state or the country you're calling from, just to give us an idea of the weather, traffic, or any other local conditions that you'd like to share.
London, welcome. Ethel Ann, are you in Southbury? Yeah, one of the benefits of this quarantine is no traffic, pretty much. Welcome from Atlanta. Watertown, welcome.
Okay.
Pennsylvania.
Dubai, welcome.
Wow. And Fabrizia, where are you from?
Wow, okay. So this is a nice international showing. All right, we'll wait one more minute and then we'll start. Ethel Ann had a question.
Okay. What's the question? And then maybe I'll be able to answer it during the program or now.
There's background noise coming through. I'm not sure, Judy, where that's coming from. It's a technical issue, we call that. All right. So, Dina, can you please do a sound check? Thank you, Susan.
How do I do the sound check?
Testing 1, 2, 3. This is Dina.
Hi, testing 1, 2, 3. This is Dina.
All right. Could everyone hear Dina? Thank you. All right. So we're going to jump in and get going. Again, this is our first webinar of the day. The equipment has to warm up. So good morning. My name is Steve Picaro, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Take a 60-Second Break with an Oasis in the Overwhelm, Breathing Through the Pandemic. Here at the Connecticut chapter of the International Coach Federation, we're excited that today's offering is part of the Raise the Bar webinar, 5 Themes, 5 Days of Learning, a free series of webinars that bring together individual professional coaches and representing a wide coaching organization across the week. Really, we're at the last final day. During this International Coaching Week, the Coaching Federation members worldwide celebrate the power of coaching to positively impact individuals, organizations, communities, and the world. So, since this is our last day, I would tell you about our full offering of programs that we have coming up, but I think we only have one more on the agenda. So if you're available today at noon, please check it out. So quick housekeeping tip. While we're on Zoom, we're going to take a moment to go over, make sure that you can hear us. And thank you again for helping us. Also, the chat box and the Q&A box are the best places to share information with the presenter as well as each other. Also, you can use the question box to submit your question, and I'll be helping Dina monitor the questions and helping control the back end. So before we jump in, I'd like to take a moment to introduce Dina. Dina Markind is a PCC, and she's a certified coach. She's earned her certificate in positive psychology through the Whole Being Institute. She's a certified master trainer, and Dina comes to coaching after more than 25 years as a clinical nurse and brings a holistic perspective to her work. She's also a respected mentor coach for individuals looking to become or renew their associate or professional certified coach credential with the International Coach Foundation. Not only she is a past president, she's also my friend. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Dina and her presentation. Thank you, Dina. Take it away.
Thank you, Steve. So welcome to Take a 60-Second Break with an Oasis in the Overwhelm, breathing through the pandemic. And as we know, this pandemic in particular does affect our breathing, and we can use our breathing to affect how we are in our days now and going forward. So I'd like to actually have us start with each of us taking 3 slow, deep breaths just to get present with the program, to let go of anything that came before, complications, rushing, whatever. And you'll have plenty of time for what comes up afterwards. So just get present here with 3 breaths. So I am Dina Markind. I am a professional certified coach. And I put this slide up in particular because I have a master's degree in nursing. My thesis was on the relaxation response and its effect on blood pressure. And then I went about life forgetting all about how to tap into the relaxation response. And in 2013, I took my first Oasis training. And then later I became the CMOT at the end, a certified master Oasis trainer. And I integrate Oasis into the leadership and life coaching that I do with professionals. So I'll be sharing a couple of techniques from Oasis in the Overwhelm, which was created by Millie Greneau, a member of the ICF Connecticut chapter. We'll start with the Overwhelm. The sympathetic nervous system is engaged when we are overwhelmed. This is when we experience acute stress, as if we've been confronted with the grizzly bear and we're threatened. So when we have this response, we go into fight, flight, or freeze. The fight, I think we're all pretty familiar with. Flight, running away. And the freeze is kind of playing possum, like we're dead. So, and that can be just by numbing out. When we have these responses, it's a body, mind, and spirit response that is caused by the sympathetic involvement. I like to think of sympathetic nervous system becoming involved when our bodies have sympathy for the crisis we feel that we're in, or sympathy for us when we're under stress. So that's one way to help remember which part of the nervous system gets involved. The body's response to acute stress is often felt as racing heart rate. You may experience that. Sweaty palms, tight stomach, our shoulders up to our ears, things like that. The mind's response can sometimes be a hyper focus. All we can think about is getting out of this situation. And at other times, we lose focus completely and are very distracted. And with regard to spirit, I mean it in the most broad sense of our sense of purpose and our sense of meaning. And usually when we're experiencing really acute stress, our spiritual purpose is only to get away from it. There's nothing else that's important to us other than getting away from this situation. Over the course of time, when we have stress, it becomes chronic stress, which can feel like what this image reminds me of. Just overwhelm, everything coming at us all the time. Concerns about money, concerns about our work, concerns about how we're relating to people. During this time of the pandemic, we've seen people experiencing new, different, and ongoing stresses. And it again affects the mind, body, and spirit. So in the body, some of those experiences that were acute are now really prolonged. So our heart rate and our heart rhythm can change. The adrenaline that was released with the sympathetic response may go away relatively quickly. It has a short half-life, but when we keep getting stimulated, it keeps coming back. In addition, cortisol from our adrenal glands is released, This is my nursing background coming out. And that leads to a decrease in our immune capability and also increases our risk for things like diabetes. So the body's response to chronic stress is really being taxed over time. With regard to the mind, this is where people have a great deal of distraction, inability to focus often. They may engage in less than responsible behaviors, such as more alcohol use, which we've seen since the beginning of the pandemic. In terms of the fight response that people have with stress, there's more domestic violence that has been occurring, more domestic abuse. People are being stressed, as I said, in some new ways, having to live closely with many people in a smaller space for longer amounts of time can get on each other's nerves with very little break. And a somewhat new response is masks. So this is a picture of a flight attendant putting on her mask, reminding us that really we have to put on our mask first, as an analogy to we have to take care of ourselves first. And Oasis provides us with a way to take care of ourselves. Now, when we're using masks, though, they're showing up in a variety of places. It's often really about taking care of other people, not just taking care of ourselves first. Some people are very upset by the masks. They feel that it's a big interference with socializing. I was speaking with a friend of mine, and she was saying when she thinks about masks, she cries. Some people are claustrophobic when they put on masks. It's very difficult for them. And other people have no problem at all. It's not a big deal. So here's an opportunity for you to let us know, what are you experiencing as overwhelm? What has been stressful for you during this time of the pandemic? The unknown. Sharing space, yeah. The upsetting news, and really there is so much misinformation out there and contradictory information because we don't know, as Stephanie mentioned earlier. Worrying about loved ones. I definitely hear that with the people that I'm coaching, those with parents who are still alive are very concerned about their parents often. And then if they have children at home and they're trying to be the educators, it's very stressful. Talk about a sandwich generation where they're concerned about their older loved ones and they're concerned about their children and meeting the educational needs of their children and still working full time. It's really quite a bit of pressure. So that is a reminder that these things often stand out to us. While it is true that during the pandemic, some people have been trying to focus on positive things. Also, it's hard not to be reminded constantly of some of the challenges, like the unknown, like the, being up against somebody all day long kind of thing. So one of the things is our brains are like Velcro for the negative and Teflon for the positive, which means that often we recall negative experiences more than positive experiences. It's part of the natural way that the brain works. And we need to have more positive experiences and more positive interactions in order to overcome the effects of the negative experiences. This has been studied by positive psychologists, Barbara Fredrickson in particular, and John Gottman and the Gottman Institute, which is about relationships. And they found that for example, in marriage, you have to have more positive experiences than negative experiences. So it carries throughout life. Oasis helps us to get in touch with the positive experiences. One of the questions that it helps us to get at is that question of purpose, to deal with our spirit. And when we do the Oasis, we also are able to calm our minds and calm our bodies. So the question for the spirit is, what am I here for? And in today's webinar, if you'd like to type in what you're here for right now, we would love to know. To feel more Oasis. The question is, what am I here for? So this is a big question, what am I here for, in the larger sense? And there's also the question of, what am I here for right in this moment at this webinar? What am I here for? Great, nice. So for people who are new to this, you will get some new ideas. And I definitely think that this will be a way for you to move to greater calm and greater clarity. And the reason of why this happens is because we are going to engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which is associated with rest and digest. So the parasympathetic nervous system works in parallel, in conjunction with the sympathetic nervous system in normal times. We need the sympathetic nervous system to sort of keep us upright, to keep us alert to what we're doing during the day. And we need the parasympathetic nervous system to be active to help us to engage in that rest so that we're not always in a tense situation, and so that we can digest and benefit from things like food that we need to digest, so we can take in the good. Today, I'll be going over 2 Oasis techniques. The first is the 3-breath countdown, and then I'll do a 1-stone technique with you. So let's back it up with breathing. As I mentioned, breathing is important. Obviously, it's central to our lives. Breathing is, it's not a voluntary activity for us, but it is not completely involuntary either. So when people hold their breaths, there's a natural breathing in that would take place in our bodies. We can't completely control our breathing. When a baby is born, it is an obligate nose breather, meaning that it has to breathe through its nose. That's the best way for us to inhale for sure, because it helps to warm the air before it goes to our lungs. For many people being out in the cold, you'll notice that it's a little harder for you to breathe. And so breathing through your nose is helpful for that. And also you have little cilia, and they're like hairs that help to filter the air as you're breathing in when you breathe through your nose. In addition, an infant, when it's born, breathes with like its whole body. If you have ever held an infant and felt the baby breathing up against you, you can feel the expansion of the torso, 360 degrees. And as that baby is breathing, their diaphragm, the main muscle of the body that allows the lungs to fill up, drops down into the abdomen. Now, this is a really full, deep breath that is taken each time for this infant. And over the course of time, we often become shallow breathers, just breathing with the upper part of our chest. And I hear many times from people, I sometimes forget to breathe. And they really do forget to breathe. And people are holding their breaths often when they feel stressed out. So I would like to go over a way for you to breathe. Now, we're not going to hold our hands like the woman in the picture, but I'm going to go over a way for you to feel yourself doing this deep abdominal breathing, which is the kind that we want to engage with as we are doing the Oasis techniques. I'd like you to take your fingers and put your thumbs together and your forefinger together so that you have like a diamond here. Then turn your hands, flip them down so your fingers are pointing down, and place them over your lower abdomen so that your belly button is just under your fingers. And then take a deep breath in and feel your abdomen rise. And fall as you exhale. Just practice that. You can practice this abdominal breathing while I give you a little more information. So the reason why abdominal and intentional slow, deep breathing is so effective is it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. It does this by stimulating the vagus nerve, especially when we are prolonging our exhale slightly. It's natural for the exhale to be a little bit longer than the time to inhale. But when we prolong it even a little bit longer, we engage the vagus nerve to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. And then when we slow our breathing down, I don't know what the reason is, but less than 10 breaths a minute is associated with the relaxation response as well. So that's something that you can do relatively easily once you get used to slowing your breath down. All right. Intentional 3-breath countdown. So this is one of the 3-breath countdown techniques. And at the beginning of our class today, we did that just to get present in the room. And you can do that by just taking 3 breaths, not concentrating on anything in particular other than just deep breaths. Or you can do it by looking at a pleasant object that attracts you. In this case, it's a mandala. I also sometimes look around my room and when I need a break and find something that just at that moment attracts me. I have, usually this is on a bookshelf. I don't know if you can see, it's a little owl. It's kind of a funny thing that I have, and I enjoy it. And so I look at this owl, and I also, the owl is associated with my mom as well. So when I look at my owl on my bookshelf, I'm both, it's kind of cute and funny, so I feel happy. And I also have this sense of protection as well. There are other things in the room that attract me at times, or looking out the window. So just to get that breath of fresh air looking out. So that's one thing you can do to just kind of refresh yourself with something beautiful, entertaining, meaningful. Or you can also think of a word that might be helpful to you in that moment. And when you think about going forward. So one of the words that I like is harmony. And there are several other words. I like the word shalom as well. Sometimes I use a phrase, I am here. I might be more specific and say, I am at this meeting, because if I'm being distracted, sometimes I have to call myself back to exactly where I am and use the phrase with some deep breathing to call me back. I'm wondering what word, phrase, or image would you like to focus on? And you could share that with us in the chat box. Oh, Judy already. I like alive. Ooh, that is a good word to focus on. Flow, nice. Peace, happy, thankful. Yeah. All great words. Acceptance. Does anybody have an image that they like to, that they either like to look at, or if you look around right now that comes to mind? Out the window, yeah. Nature and trees outside, flowers. So we can, great. So I'd like to take a moment, and each one of us can use either the phrase, word, or image of our own, and we'll do 3 breaths, and then we'll come back and do another 3 breath countdown technique. Okay. So what did you notice as you did your 3 breath countdown with a word or image? You already feel calmer, great. I chose to use Judy's word, alive, and I felt myself go like kind of alive, like more energy. So I'm present with that sensation throughout my body. Judy, would you be able to be willing to share a little bit about what that sensation was? Unmute you. Steve, can you unmute Judy? Thank you. Go ahead. Whoops.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted, yes?
I think you're unmuted, yeah.
Great. Well, when I stay with it and let it, the word kind of resonate in my body as I'm breathing, as what happens is what happened today was a kind of a tingling that made me aware of the aliveness throughout my body, and then it kind of went from my belly, almost had a color, up through my chest towards my heart.
Great. Very cool. It reminds me, and I didn't pay attention to who wrote this. Somebody said something about an image from inside that's amplified. So I almost feel, I hear like this color sensation that was amplifying as you were taking more breaths and allowing yourself to experience. Kind of, it was, you know, it was almost like a natural acceptance, as that is what I heard also. Great. Okay. Does anyone else want to share something about that experience? And then, because we have more to do. Oops. So we're going to go on to take a mini vacation. This is also a 3-breath countdown, which takes a little bit longer to learn. But once you know it, you can do it very quickly within the 60 seconds. What I'd like you to do is allow your mind to wander. If you want to close your eyes, nobody can see you. Allow your mind to wander to some place that's beautiful and feel safe and perhaps some fun there. And just see where you go. This could be a place that's imaginary, someplace you've been, a place you've heard about. If your mind is going from place to place, just allow it to stop in one place so you can settle in there for a moment. Once you're there, notice the light where you are. What do you see around you? Maybe water, mountains, trees. Notice any smells that might be in this special place. Maybe salty ocean, pine needles, cooking. What do you hear in this place? Maybe laughter, birds, waves, maybe just the wind. Notice what the air feels like on your skin. Maybe the texture of any clothing that you have on. You might want to pick up an object in this special place and see how that feels. Now, give a name to this place. It doesn't have to be the name on a map. It could be a name that you make up. Just a special name that you have for this place. Now that you have the name, I'd like you to take your palms together and rub your hands together until they're warm. And with your eyes closed, take your warm hands and cup them over your eyes. Go to your special place and breathe in 3 deep breaths while you are at your special place. When you're ready, you can drop your hands, open your eyes, and come back. So, what was this little trip like for you? Anybody want to either share the name of your special place or the experience you had going there? Putting your hands on your eyes can often make you go more internal. It's a further block out of whatever's around. If it works with just closing your eyes, that's absolutely fine. Retreat. So a nice variety here, I see. Switzerland, Caribbean. For me, it was more of a mountain retreat kind of thing. Got to have a lake, though. By having the name, you can call it up more easily to yourself. And that can become important for you if you want to engage in this kind of activity more frequently and quickly, so that you have the name, you recall it, and then with hands on over your eyes or not, you can breathe in that experience. Anyway, so that was I find this one to be a really pleasant and inviting experience for when I'm stressed out. It's a way for us to get out of the here and now kind of thing, to go to there and then. When we talk about rebalancing with Oasis, it's not just about getting present to what is. It can also sometimes be a way of providing us with some relief from what is. And given the confined situation that we're in with the pandemic, being, not having very many alternatives or traveling and things like that, being able to take these mini vacations can really be a nice break for us. Okay. So going on to one stone. One stone is a simple technique, but it can be a little bit challenging to do for people initially. This is a technique that was taught to Millie by Thich Nhat Hanh, and he is a Buddhist monk. He was in Vietnam during the time of the Vietnam War, and he found that he wanted to be of service to the people in the cities. But when he would go into the cities, he would become anxious and unable to be of service to them as well. So he experimented with finding ways that would help him to be calm, so that he could function with clarity and calm when he was with the people that he wanted to serve. Eventually he found that when he would hold a stone in his hand and keep his eyes open and breathe with his attention on the stone, he was able to calm himself down. He could carry his calm in his pocket in this way. So one of the things about one stone is it doesn't have to be a stone. While the stone is neutral and has a sense of permanence, you could use a button, you could use a shell, you could use a paper clip, you could use whatever you have nearby. So I have a little clip that holds papers together here that I'm going to probably use, and I've done this with a hair clip, a little clip for my hair, and also I did this with a battery once, and I actually really like the battery because it has some weight, and I got to look at it and see new things. So look around where you are, perhaps the desk or tabletop, whatever it is, and find an object that is small enough for you to hold in the palm of your hand. That's the requirement. It just has to be small enough to hold in the palm of your hand. I'll give you a minute or less, really, to find that object. So we'll do this one stone exercise together. I'll count silently to myself and then I'll look back up. This is an open eye exercise with a gentle gaze on the object, and we'll discuss it upon the return to after the breathing exercise. So what I'd like you to do is look at your object in your hand, just kind of get a sense of what it is, noticing some different variations about it, etc. And then take that palm that's holding and put it in your opposite hand. Just rest it there, cradle it, being kind to yourself, just cradling it. And now, with a gentle gaze at your object, take 10 slow, deep abdominal diaphragmatic breaths, and we'll come back together after that. Hello. So, what was that like for you? Oh, great. Thank you already, Rich, for sharing what you used. Nice. Erase my stress. Great. Great. Anybody else have something to share about what they used or their experience? The weight is grounding. A C-beam. Cool. Nice. I'm glad that you love this. Huh. Nice getaway by looking at your object. This is a really powerful exercise. The first time I did the one stone, I felt very self-conscious because I was not used to taking 10 slow, deep breaths. And I would say, even if you can only do 1, 3, 5 breaths with an object, it can have a powerful effect, and you can work your way up to the 10. That's the first thing. You can tell by the reaction of people here that it is really effective for calming, taking you away from where you are, and giving you, a way to get back to where you need to be in some ways with a more focused, calm outlook. So I encourage you to look for your own stones as you move forward and enjoy experimenting with objects. If you're really happy with the one that you have, continue to use it. And, there's something actually humorous, which I love, just the idea of taking a Carmex tube or taking the battery. I ended up choosing a battery again. I guess I like the idea of energy. And you can do this. This technique has been used by many people. One of the things I've done is my hairdresser. She learned one stone with me, and she keeps her stone in her drawer for the in-between moments when she feels like she has to gather herself together. She's the owner of the salon, so there are many moments throughout the day that happens to her. And Millie tells a story of somebody that she worked with who was very type A, and he carried a stone in his pocket so that he would remember to calm himself down when he needed to. The other thing I want to note is, and this may have happened to you during this seminar, this webinar, is I'm able to now take the slow breaths really slowly. And I taught it recently to somebody else, and I noticed she was finished at my breath 7, she had completed 10. So as you're experimenting with using this technique of one stone, and even the 3 breath technique, you may slow down your breathing from what you're doing now, and that can help you to engage that relaxation response, the parasympathetic nervous system, so you can come back with clarity and calm. So, questions. If people have questions, I don't know if Steve wants to open up the room, or if they are sent into the question area, the Q&A on the Zoom, or you can put it in the chat. We will respond to questions. Chat box for questions, please. So I use some of these techniques with my clients. It really depends on who they are. I have somebody who I'm working with. The 3 breaths helps to get him centered so he can focus on the topic of his choice during our call, instead of just going rambling on like getting things off his chest the whole time. So I do use it in that way. I also teach these techniques to my clients when they are interested in learning, a stress reduction technique or ways to refocus better. I will teach these techniques to my clients in those settings. What did I do to keep myself calm? Okay. I did breathe. I practiced myself, ahead of time to have the right attitude, that intentional 3 breath countdown of, just calm, it'll work out. This is what's supposed to be. So kind of a sort of purpose. I had a faith in this. And I have also great confidence in Steve Percaro, who is the Zoom master for me today, which is great. And I know he's very supportive of Oasis and supportive of ICF Connecticut, and he was going to do everything possible to make it happen. So I just, figured it was going to work out. Richard, you're very welcome. And I heard there's a question in the Q&A box, but I don't know how to open that up right now. So if someone could read me the question or copy it over to here.
All right, Dina, here you go. How do you integrate these techniques, if you do, into coaching?
Okay, so so as I mentioned, the 3 breath technique I integrate with my clients who I think are going to, I integrate it in a way to start our session really focused on what they want. So sometimes they may want to, what I call clear, they need to get things off their chest. And then I'll say, how about we take a few breaths together and get focused. I don't make it into a big deal. And then, I may say, this is something you can do at other times too by taking these breaths. One client, she specifically wanted to have techniques that would help her focus and help her to not get, quote, frustrated, agitated when things didn't go as planned. And I specifically taught her I taught her both a 3 breath technique and the 1 stone technique. And she's going to experiment with which things work for her. So I've also, because people during this time have been sitting in front of their computers so much and they don't have an office to walk around and meet with other people, I've integrated some of the other Oasis techniques too, because it's like people need to stretch. So they're just sitting in front of the computer, and then they're kind of stiff or whatever, and they may say that even in passing. And I'll do another technique called 4D, which is a stretching Oasis exercise. And it really just depends.
All right, Dina.
Are there more techniques?
Oh.
I saw the Q&A come up. Are there more techniques similar to the 1 stone technique that you love? These are the ones that I know that I particularly use. There are many, many breathing and mindfulness type techniques that are out in the world, but these are the ones that are the go-to. They take less. The beauty is they take less than 60 seconds. They are easy for people to learn. They're flexible techniques, and you can really make them your own. So I pretty much stick to these techniques. The breathing is really the central aspect to all of them. Oh, so Monica responded, other techniques similar to the 1 stone. There are 2 other Oasis techniques, but I don't necessarily consider them similar to 1 stone. Richard mentioned saying a mantra. So the idea of mantra is very similar to the idea of phrase. So one of the things that I did actually in the past is I had a meeting that I was going to, a different volunteer organization, and we had an important decision to make, and I wanted it to go smoothly. And so on my way to this meeting, and especially when I got in the parking lot before I got out of the car to go to the meeting, I said the word consensus. I basically used that as my mantra. With the 3 breath countdown, we talked about having a word, and that was my focus. It was way more than 3 breaths, but it was a way for me to bring that intention forward and that energy for consensus into the meeting that I was going to. So, we are coming up on the end. So I wanted to, before we go, I wanted to share this poem that I love. Peace. It does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in your heart. I hope all of you can maintain the calm in your heart as you go forward with your day and through the rest of the time of the pandemic and into the future. There will always be challenges, and we can meet them better when we can access the calm in our heart. If you want to learn more about me, my email address is here, Dina@heartofwellbeing. And to learn more about Oasis, the website is oasisintheoverwhelm.com. Thank you all for your attention and your participation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dina. And thank you all for attending. We're going to be wrapping things up here, but as a reminder, we have our final presentation at noon. If you're available, we'll be talking about leveraging your strengths for successful career transitions at 12 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to check our website for other upcoming events. And if you're looking for resources to find a coach or speakers, please check our Find a Coach at ICF-CT.org. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great day. Be safe. Be well.
Be well. Bye-bye.